Welcome to the Sub Hub Podcast. I'm Danny Moreno.
And I'm MK Sullivan. And today we have a pretty beefy episode because in our partnership with Skyrunner World Series, we're trying to cover as many of these races as possible. But we also wanted to talk to none other than Roberto Delorenzi today. He is a Swiss athlete representing Brooks. He's a regular on both the Skyrunner World Series and the Golden Trail World Series. He currently leads the Skyrunner World Series with wins at Acantilados del Norte, Calamoro, Gorges du Tarn, and a fifth place finish at the Sky Race de Matazines. He has quite a substantial lead. He's like 6,000 points over second place. Roberto first caught our attention last year when he was second at Dolomites Sky Race behind El Huzin, and then followed that up with a fifth place at Sears and All. We did interview him prior to the Golden Trail World Series final last year, so if you haven't listened to that, go give that a listen, and then also listen to this podcast. His career has just continued to go up since then. He recently won gold at the European Championships in the Classic Mountain category. We talked to Roberto about the first half of his season, which has been kind of insane, and his success specifically in the Skyrunner World Series up to this point. And then after our interview with Roberto, Danny and I will cover the rest of the June races for the Skyrunner World Series. So buckle up. It's going to be a big one. But we really enjoyed our conversation with Roberto.
So before we dive into our interview with Roberto, here's a message from one of our partners.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Never Second. Although they are a relatively new brand in the space, Never Second has been working with some of the biggest names in trail running over the last couple years, like UTMB champs Katie Scheid and Jim Walmsley. Never Second makes fueling easy with their modular system that allows you to create the exact carbohydrate formula for your activity. Their products are meant to be mixed and matched so that you can have 30, 60, 90, or even 120 grams of carbs per hour. I used Never Second in my recent second place finish at the Canyons 100K, where I also snagged a golden ticket. Despite being pretty nervous and nauseous at the start of the race, I was able to get down all of my nutrition because of the easy consistency and light flavors of Never Second products. I drank 90 grams of carbs over 90-minute increments and supplemented with one C30 an hour. I alternated between the C90 mix and a 3-scoop C30 mix to get a little bit more sodium every bottle. I also alternated my gels with a C30 plus that included caffeine so that I wouldn't get too tired as the race went on. I never experienced flavor fatigue or an upset stomach for the entirety of the 100K. If you want to try Never Second, just head to neversecond.com. That's NEVER, the number 2.com. And use code SUBHUB25 for a 25% discount on all your orders.
Hey, Roberto, congrats on your European Championship. How are you feeling?
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'm feeling really great. It was an amazing weekend of racing. And yeah, now it's 1 week after the race, and yeah, still feeling good about it.
Yeah, we hope you would still be feeling good about it. Again, congrats on winning the overall championship in the up and down. How was the course compared to, like your expectations meets reality?
Yeah, the course was quite good for me. Like actually, last year's also World Championships and European Championships are like more 2 laps races, like more fast races, only maybe 400 meters up and 400 meters down to do it two times. So for me, the course this year was really good, a long uphill and a long downhill, and I was expecting maybe a little bit less technical stuff, but the last days was raining a lot, so the trails were really muddy, and yeah, for me it was really great coming from skyrunning. I'm quite used to run on technical trails, so yeah, for me it was really perfect conditions, perfect course.
It looked like a super exciting race. Like, I think you ended up beating second place by 2 or 3 seconds, maybe even less. So tell us a little bit about how the race unfolded. At what point did you take over, and did you know that you were going to win?
Yeah, so we started quite fast from the beginning. We were, I think after like 15 minutes, only 4 or 5 athletes in the front. I was always pushing, so I didn't look back how many athletes we were, but like after 15-20 minutes, I just looked a little bit back, and we were like 4 or 5 athletes, so maybe at the middle of the first climb. And then I knew that could be a good day for me, because I was feeling quite good. Nobody was passing me. They were letting me to do my rhythm, and for me it's really perfect if I can stay in front of the race and just to do my pace. And yeah, and like the last 3 minutes of the uphill, I pushed a little bit more, and we were just 3 athletes in front there. And yeah, and then I attacked in the downhill. I knew that maybe in the downhill I was a bit better than the other athletes on the technical part. So I were really pushing a lot on the technical parts, and then yeah, just a bit relaxing on the easier parts. And then the athletes behind were always losing a little bit on the technical part, and they had to push in the fastest parts to catch up with me. And yeah, just the last like 10 minutes of the race, I was alone in front with the German guy, Lucas Erle, and I knew that he's really strong, because 2 days before on the vertical, he like passed me super fast in the last kilometer. He has good times on flat, so I said, oh, now it's just like 2 kilometers. The last kilometer is really flat. I have to get a little seconds. If not, it will destroy me. So yeah, I knew that there was like 2 minutes really technical before the last kilometer flat. So then I really attacked, and I managed to take like 10 seconds. And then yeah, the last kilometer, I just sprinted to the finish line. And yeah, and yeah, maybe if I sprinted to the finish line, it was like 10 seconds from the second place. Last 100 meters, I just a little bit slowed down and like enjoyed the last stretch. And then he sprinted, and he was like, I think 3 seconds behind me. But yeah, it was really a tough race until the last 100 meters was really all out. 1 hour and 11 minutes, really, really, really tough. But it was super day for me, super energy all over the course, and yeah, super happy with it.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. It was getting me excited just listening to that attacking right before the last bit. You also ran a road 10K earlier this year, so I would imagine perhaps like you were channeling that speed that last couple kilometers going into the finish.
Yeah, I ran like 4 10Ks this year at the beginning of the year, and then a half marathon. So yeah, I had also quite good speed, but the last like 2 months I was like more focusing on elevation gain. So maybe now, not maybe, I'm sure that now I'm not so fast like in February. But yeah, like Erle, the guy that came second, he did like, I don't know, maybe 2 3 weeks ago, like 29 flat on 10K, so faster than me. So I was really afraid to go with him in the last kilometer and and lose the the win. So yeah, I had to win a little margin before the last kilometer.
Yeah, Danny and I talk about this all the time because you always think that when you're working on vert, you're going to get slower, but the speed is always there. So you were ready to tap into it when it mattered most. But huge congrats again. I'm sure this was a huge goal for your year, and you obviously like reached it, which is amazing. But let's dive into a little bit of like how you built up to this race and what the rest of the year has looked like. You have been racing quite a bit, as anyone who follows you knows. So how did this race fit into the bigger picture of the year?
Yeah, so my plan was to do a lot of flat training, a lot of volume in the first 3 months of the year. So I did so, and then my plan was to do the 4 races of the Skyrunner series, and then like stop with the Skyrunner series, and then focus on the Golden Trail, and then just do the final of the Skyrunning in November. And yeah, European mountain running championships were like a mid-season goal. So yeah, like my preparation was like really flat, a lot of gaining speed, and then do elevation gain for skyrunning stuff. And European, I just did. I didn't like change training. For Europeans, I just did maybe some flat training more than like last 2 months that I did only sky running stuff. And for the next month, I will do all 5 races of the sky running of the Golden Trail World Series. So now we'll do like more elevation gain stuff. So a little bit less flat, and then like hope that the shape is good until the end of the season. And I will do like all 5 races of the Golden plus the final, then the final of the Sky Running World Series. So I think I will do a lot of races in the next months, and maybe in July I will just do like a month of like off races, just training in altitude, and obvious that after from August to November the shape will be good.
Yeah. I personally am a fan of structuring a year with speed in the front of it, like kind of in the winter and stuff. And this is an oversimplification, but I feel like there's kind of like 2 trail runners, like ones that focus on road and track in the early part of the year in transition. And then you have like the mountaineering athletes, and obviously you have some mix in between, but it does seem like there's 2 strong camps. And so I'm curious, you choosing maybe with your coach like to focus on the speed and the flat running, is that because you enjoy it, or you truly believe that will help you to become better at these shorter races, or is it some combo of the 2 and other factors?
Yeah. So like I am the trainer of myself, so I don't have any coach, but like I started running when I was 13, and like I started with mountain running. So the first years I just did all over the year only mountain running, and in the last 3 years I did always in the winter season flat running, and I've seen that if I'm doing like this in the summer season, I have something more. So it's working well. I like also switching from road running to mountain running. So yeah, I like it, and it seems that it's working for me. So yeah, I'm doing it, and also in the next years I will do like this.
So when you're stacking up races like this and you're racing every weekend sometimes, how do you balance training and racing? What does a week look like when you have 4 races in a row or whatever?
Yeah. So yeah, if I have like 4 big races in a row, like 2 hours racing in like high level races, like in between from the races, I'm like just resting or doing easy stuff, just recovering as much as possible. And maybe like in the middle of the week, if I'm feeling good, I do like a little interval session. But yeah, if I have really big races 4 weeks in a row, I'm just resting. Yeah, like always training like two times in a day, but always like easy stuff and recovering as much as possible.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense for sure. I am curious, like looking at your Strava, it seems like this last week you did a lot more biking, and I'm curious if that's like an intentional bigger biking week, maybe coming off of the series of racing, or if you normally do include the bike in like the multiple weeks. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. No, actually, like I'm not doing a lot of bike. I'm doing more bicycle, maybe like between races. So I don't like too stressful for the legs. But I wanted to do like after Europeans off week from running. So I did really not, I don't know how many kilometers I did, like maybe 50, I don't know, last week, and just did a bicycle. So easy stuff in the bicycle. But yeah, like in winter season when I'm doing a lot of flat training, I'm like only running. Bicycle is really maybe once a week maximum. And now in summer season with a lot of racing, if my legs are a bit sore, I like like to go with the bicycle.
So then since you took a week off of running, basically, do you kind of see this as like the midpoint of your season? Like you had one long season from March until last weekend, basically taking a little break, and then are we opening up the second season of the year?
Yeah, the program was like this, to do a little break after Europeans, and then second half of the season, like begin now a 2 months of elevation training, and then from I would say like my next big goal is Cerzinal, and then from there just to go on with all races until the end of the season. So in mid of November with the Skyrunner World Series final.
Yeah.
Are you still
sorry.
planning on doing Tatra Sky Race or the race in Poland as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the end of this month is Marathon du Mont Blanc, then all July just training in altitude, and then Cerzinal, Tatra, the 2 races in US, then the final of the Skyrunner of the Golden in like 20 minutes from where I live, and then final of skyrunning in November.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool that you kind of committed that week of biking, because I'm finding it super fascinating, because as these series mostly used to just be like in the summer and like trickle into the fall, right? But like now all of them are starting to expand, and it's really hard to be like training that hard all year. And so I think it's really important to highlight, like you did, that for athletes, it's like, hey, plan a break at some point. Maybe physically you're feeling okay, but even so, like mentally, like the pushing of all the races, to just like let the body reset before going into the second part of the season. Because even just a couple years ago, like I kind of saw it as like, oh, May is when we all start racing, but now it's like April and March. And yeah, I think it's really important to highlight that athletes like yourself are building in those breaks throughout the year.
Yeah, I think it's really important, because cannot be 100% for 10 months, 9 months, a year, and you have to do some breaks, and you have to see how your body is feeling. Like I did maybe a little bit too much in winter, and the 2 races in Asia, I was a bit a bit destroyed. So yeah, after I had to do like 2 weeks a little bit easy, but yeah, if the season is so long and you're racing so much, it's not so easy to be always in good shape. So yeah, I think it's really good to do some breaks. For me, maybe only one break in the middle of the season is good. Maybe for other athletes a bit more, but yeah, you have to search your stuff.
Definitely. So switching to Skyrunner a bit, you are currently leading the series. Almost every race that you've touched on Skyrunner this year, you've like just dominated. And so I'm just curious, like, what if you had to choose a sky race to recommend to somebody new in the series? Like, which of those races would you suggest? Which was your favorite?
But my favorite this year was Calamoro, because it was so good, so in shape. I like this kind of races, like up and downs, like 3 times up and downs of like 30 minutes climb and then down, another 30 minutes climb. I like this kind of races, not super technical but not super technical. That race was really amazing. It's like you start from not sea level, but a bit higher, and you have so amazing views. It was like a really super race for me, so I would recommend this kind of race. But like Skyrunning World Series have like so many races, from like only 20K races to marathon races, and from easy races to super technical races like marathon and Ultrax Extreme in Zermatt. That is really super technical. So it depends on the athlete. So maybe for some athletes, I would recommend something like Kima, or something like Materan Ultrax, super technical, and from like other runners, like what I did in Calamoro, so not super technical, or other races that maybe I don't know, because there are like so many new races this year. But yeah, so it's difficult say what to recommend, but yeah, what I really liked this year is Calamaro Sky Race. Although the others that they did are really amazing, but yeah, if I have to choose one, Calamaro.
Yeah, from a spectator standpoint too, Calamaro just looks like like there's so much energy there, and watching the live stream, the announcers have incredible insight to all of you guys, and like the fans are there. It just looks like a race that I think is going to continue growing in popularity, as like an early season kind of fitness check, see where you're at. And having watched the live stream, I'm not surprised you picked that as your favorite, because watching you fly by the top women who were moving incredibly fast just like put into perspective how fast you were moving. I remember watching and being like, what was that, just Roberto that flew past them? Or was that like a wild animal just like on the trail? It was really cool to watch. So yeah. So for the folks out there, if you're looking for a sky race to try, Calamaro, I think, has gotten a lot of votes early this season. So something to check out. You are one of the few athletes that participate in both the Skyrunner and the Golden Trail World Series. There's kind of athletes that stay to Golden Trail and other athletes that stay to Skyrunner. And then we have a couple of crossover. And I'm curious, like, why do you keep going back to Skyrunner World Series? Like, what is so special about it? And what do you love about it?
But I like that, like, I began with skyrunning, like when I was like 13, 14, 15 years old. I began with this kind of races, technical stuff, like walking a lot. And so like my heart is there, and I like really this kind of races. And I think that it's not so a good thing that there are so many races, like 20 races, so that the level of athletes can really spread in all the races. But like for me, that I have to plan my season, I have so many races that I can choose from. It's really good. So I choose the first four, so really at the beginning of the season. So then after I can really focus on the golden. That for sure now the level is more on the golden, and so I can really manage to do both of the circuits. But for sure, if like the races were like golden, like only 7, 8, and they're really close to the golden trail, it's not so easy to do both series. But yeah, now I like it. Skyrunning I really like a lot. I could really choose the races that suits me really good. So yeah, I did it also last year, and I wanted to try also this year how it goes. But then, and if I can manage to do both circuits well, I think also next year I will do the same.
Yeah, and it seemed like last year for Golden Trail, like you got better and better as the season went on. I mean, like especially towards the very end. And so you said that Sears and All is a pretty big goal for you. What would a great day at Sears and All look like for you?
Yeah, so Sierzinale is like the most popular race in Switzerland, and I'm a Swiss athlete, so it's like a race that I want to do well, and I like it also a lot. I did it twice. I did like 2:38 and then 2:35. So this year, like my goal, my dream is to do it under 2 hours 30. So like my perfect day at Cerzinal would be like under 2:30. I know it's super fast, but this is like my dream. And like last year, I did 2 months of elevation training, and then I did the last part of the season super well. Also with Certinal, the races in US and the final. So I will do the same, and yeah, hope that I can run well the Certinal. And I know that Kilian will do it, so maybe stick with him if I can. And yeah, this would be like my dream to it. Yeah, for sure, also win it, but I know that it's really difficult but under 2 hours 30, maybe. I don't know. We will see.
Well, I mean, it looks like you started your Sears and All campaign somewhere around 2:38, and then you ran 2:35 last year. So like if you keep going down that road, it seems like under 2:30 is definitely in reach.
Yeah, difficult, but maybe in a perfect day with perfect condition, maybe yes.
No, I love that. I hope you get that goal. Just hearing you talk about it, it's nice to have those races we're especially passionate about going for those. Aside, just to kind of like wrap us up here, aside from Sears and now, looking past that, do you have any other major goals this year?
Yeah, major goal this year is the winning the Skyrunning World Series. This is my goal for sure. The final is maybe not the race really for me, like 5 hours 30 race, not really super for me, but yeah, I will give my best to do it. And it's also the last race of the season, so yeah, I can really give it all there. And yeah, other goals of the season, I I did sixth overall last year in the Golden, so this year the goal is top 5. Not easy for sure because the level is always getting higher and higher, but yeah, this is another goal of the season. And then actually no, because the other goals were to win the Europeans. I did it, and at the beginning of the year was to win all 4 races of the Skyrunning World Series, and yeah, I managed to win 3 of them. I have to see maybe to do another race because I think that after the final of the Golden at the beginning of November there are like 2 races of the Skyrunning that I could do before the final. I have to see a little bit the other athletes what they are doing in the Skyrunning series, and then if I have a lot of athletes with a lot of points, maybe I will do another skyrunning race before the final to maybe get a bit more points. But yeah, not other goals of the season, I don't have them. This is what I have already said. And yeah, lifetime goals is like win Cerdinal, win the Golden Trail World Series, and maybe in 10-15 years when maybe I will do longer stuff, win UTMB, Western States, I'll rock. I don't know. We'll see.
I like that 10-15 years from now. Oh man. Well, we're excited to see you at Mont Blanc Marathon next. Hopefully you're recovering well. Your week of biking is helping those legs kind of freshen up. But yeah, I feel like that's going to be a really good race course for you.
Yeah, maybe a bit long, but yeah, would be good.
Nice.
1 hour less would be better for me, but yeah, maybe 3 hours.
Think of it as a good like race for later in the year for the Skyrunner World Series, just feeling that those extra hours and stuff. But yeah, thanks so much, Roberto, for joining us today. Again, huge congrats on European Championships, both of those races, but especially the up down. And then yeah, super excited to follow you both in Skyrunner and Golden Trail, but with you currently leading Skyrunner. Excited to see how that unfolds later this year.
Yeah, thank you a lot, and thank you to having me.
Yeah. So before we dive into the upcoming Skyrunner World Series races in the month of June, we did want to touch upon the current overall standings after 7 races. This includes Hochkungmung. Did I do that right?
I think it's Hochkönigmann. Shout out to Adam for the pronunciation. We're still doing a bad job.
Yeah. Thanks for the message. We really appreciate it. But after that race on the men's side, as the gentleman we just spoke to, Roberto Delorenzi, is leading with 17,916 points. This boy is rolling in the points. Second is Antonio Martinez, the Spanish runner representing ASICS. Third is Daniel Antonioli, the Italian runner representing Scarpa. Fourth is Lorenzo Beltrami, also an Italian runner representing Scarpa. And in fifth is Frederic Tranchard, the French runner representing Scott.
And then on the women's side, Lide Urestarazu is still leading the women's rankings by a little under 1,500 points. She is from Spain. Julia Font is in second, also from Spain, representing Brooks. Oihana Cortazar is in third, Spanish, representing Solomon. Hillary Girardi moved up into fourth place after her win at Hochkönigmann. She represents Black Diamond and Scarpa. Interesting. And then in fifth, another Spanish woman, Nayara Irigoyen. who represents Solomon as well.
Yeah, so again, the Spanish women, 4 out of the top 5 spots. And there's
And in the
actually, yeah, in the top 10, there's 6 out of the
6.
top 10 spots. So just cranking away. And then Lide and Naira also ran at Sagama and did extremely well. So double
Yes.
dipping as well. All right, so June is jam-packed. We're going to start with the race that is happening this week. So here's the 4 races we're going to cover. We have Madeira Sky Race, which is this weekend. It's a 45K with 3,600 meters of climbing in Santana, Portugal. And then we will cover Minotaur Sky Race, which is over here in North America, which is really cool. The second North American race this year, in addition to Mexico Sky Race. That is June 22nd. So this is on the same Saturday as the 46K Broken Arrow. And this is a 33.5K. I mean, you all know how it goes with these races, though. That could be 32K or 35K, with 2,900 feet of climbing. And then we will cover, these are different races, even though they sound extremely similar. Is Sky Race do Mercantour, I think is how you say it. It is the day after. So you have Minotaur and then Mercantour. June 23rd, this is the same day as Broken Arrow 23K. This is a 30K with 2,100 meters of climbing in Saint Martin Vesubie. I don't know why I went more Spanish with that. It's French.
It works.
Yeah.
It's all Latin.
In France. And then Kaiser Krone Sky Race, June 29th, 25.2K, 2,700 meters of climbing, closer to 2,800 meters of climbing in Austria. So let's kick it
It's
off with Madeira. Nonstop. Yeah. Nonstop.
Yeah.
So we'll kick it off with Madeira Sky Race, which is happening this weekend.
And is by far the longest of all of these races. It's a 45K, so a little bit longer than a marathon when it's said and done. It's on the north side of Madeira Island. It has 3,600 meters of gain, which is like right around a little over 10,000 feet of gain, over 25 to 27 miles, depending on the Strava. This course looks insane.
Yeah.
Jenny and I watched some YouTube videos. There are chains, there are ropes, there are runners crawling on their hands and knees, there are river crossings, scrambling alongside ridges. If like you've ever watched people do Madeira Island Ultra Trail, just like multiply that.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like.
Yeah.
But for an island, it gets surprisingly high. The high point is at 6,100 feet or 1,860 meters, which is Pico Ruivo. Which if you have watched any races that happened in Madeira, that is like kind of an like stairway slash path up at the top of this beautiful mountain. There are lots of stairs on this island. It can be super slippery when it's wet, and it's very humid pretty much all the time there, very jungly. Most of the climbing happens in the first 25K of the course, and then there's a long downhill with 3 short, super steep uphills at the end. Last year was actually the first time running this specific course, and it was won in 5:05 on the men's side by Antonio Martinez and 6:12 on the women's side by Emma Cook-Clark. So it is by no means a short sky race.
No, it is a long day in the jungly, humid soupiness of beautiful Madeira.
Yes.
Yeah. Go watch some videos. I think if you're craving like what feels like an adventurous race, a tropical adventurous race, sign up for Madeira Sky Race. And having had raced there before, the people love trail and mountain running there. So I'm sure you'd have people cheering you the whole way. But as far as the favorites go, because we're previewing 4 races, we kept it narrow to the folks that we really think are strong podium contenders. On the men's side, we have Luka Kovacic. He's Slovenian, represents Dynafit, and he was 3rd place at Schlegisch 3000 Sky Race last year. And last year's race was really competitive, so definitely keep an eye on him. We have Loic Robert, a French runner representing Kiprun, which is cool. I originally thought Kiprun was only going to be representing females, but now they're starting to represent men and even have like an NIL with an American athlete now. So Kiprun is potentially going to take over the world. I mean, they're a decathlon, like it's like a Big 5 brand, which I just learned. So it's
Huh.
like if Big Five or REI started sponsoring athletes.
That's interesting. I thought they were just a
Yeah.
shoe brand. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's like within that. But anyway, so Loic Robert, ninth at Zagama this year. Zagama was very competitive, so I think he's coming in here pretty primed. And then the other athlete we have our eye on is Miguel Arsenio. He is Portuguese and he was third place at this race last year. So, home field advantage potentially. And
Yeah.
he represents Calais. And last year, the winner was Antonio Martinez. So I'm sure they were moving quite well last year.
Yeah. And I wonder if Miguel is like from mainland Portugal or if he's from Madeira itself.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of Portuguese races in his race results. So maybe, yeah.
And then on the women's side, Oyhana Cortazar will be in the race. She was recently first at Gorges du Tarn, which was the first win of the season for her this year, but she's been like in the top of the Acantilados del Norte and Calamora. I believe she was top 5. So she's crushing it. This is definitely her type of course. Being a more seasoned veteran, a longer race is probably better for her. Lucille Germain from France. She was 4th at Gorges du Tarn. She runs for Cetus Matrix. And then Lide Urestarazu is definitely the favorite, kind of in our eyes, crushing the rankings right now. And she's been podium at least 2 Sky races this year. So if I had to pick, it would be Lide.
Yeah, I would give it to Lide and Miguel, potentially taking the overall wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's Madeira Sky Race. This one is super beefy, like MK said. So it'll be interesting to see where these athletes jump in the rest of the series, because this is probably one of the longest ones, like top 2 longest ones to pick out.
And one of the probably the second longest race, maybe not. I haven't looked at some of the later races, but Minotaur Sky Race, for being like 11K less, is actually only like an hour shorter. So Minotaur happens June 22nd, which is next weekend. It's 33.5K, 2,900 meters, which is like around 20 miles with 9,000-ish feet of gain. It happens in Crow's Nest, Canada. And yeah, this is like another one of those sky races that, instead of being like a 2 to 3 hour effort, on the men's side is like a 4-hour effort plus, and on the women's side is a 5-hour effort.
Yeah, this race looks like it is just filled with type of that like scree, slow running. There's a couple of chutes, but you are at altitude the entire race and you're like scrambling. And so something that we both noticed watching and kind of taking notes for this race is it seems like seasoned Skyrunners really pace themselves well on the more runnable sections, like stuff where you would expect maybe like the podium to be running. They're actually hiking with poles. And we do believe it's because the whole time you're at high altitude and trying to move pretty fast, like on this very technical terrain. So yeah, it's almost like the Rudge Rit, or sorry,
It was a good effort.
Yeah, the ridge, like the Rut Ridge, but the entire race. But yeah, we have I think these fields are really strong, kind of like the Mexico Sky Race. The North American Skyrunner specialists are really coming out for this one. Got to give it to Jackson Cole. He won the race last year, and last year's race was heavily stacked with a lot of seasoned Skyrunner and like OCR athletes too. We also have David Hedges, also an American runner. He recently won Seven Sisters, which is a big race in Canada. I've heard about this race. It also is like very technical, etc. We also have Samuel Poher. He's a Canadian athlete. Potentially, that home field advantage. I think that does help in these really technical races when you know the type of terrain that you're working with. Taking a very dry Eastern Sierra athlete and putting them in Madeira, and you have a Madeiran athlete who's actually like used to that, is same here, right? Like if you're used to how Scream moves and stuff. And he represents CL Athletics. We have Morgan Elliott, recently 4th at the Mexico Sky Race, representing Merrill. seeing his Instagram, it seemed like he is just like hooked. I don't know how many sky races that he's done before, but I've always known him as a very like technical savant. And so it's really cool that he's getting potentially going to do more of these races. And then we have Johnny Luna Lima. He is Brazilian, even though he resides here in the US. And he was third at the Mexico Sky Race coming back, and he represents the North Face. So it'll be cool to see those guys who were just in Mexico battled out again, but then having the Canadians there as well.
Definitely. And then on the women's side, we have Bailey Kowalczyk coming back for her third Sky Race of the season. She was third at Sky Race de Matazines and fourth at Acantilados to start the season. She represents Nike Trail. Emma Cook Clark from Canada was recently third at Mexico. I believe that she was second or third here at this race last year. She and Karina were on the podium. I just can't remember in which order. So Karina Carsolio is also coming back to this race for a second year in a row. She's a Mexican athlete, was first at the Mexico Sky Race, which was really not a surprise for Danny and I. But she's also a heavy favorite for this race, I think, knowing the course already. And then Elise Poncet from France. This is her first Sky Race of the season. But she was recently fifth at the Uphill European Championships. And if you guys haven't seen the video of her and Judith like sprinting as hard as they can past the camera, she was hammering. But in my head, this is a little bit of a longer effort for Elise, so I'd be curious to see how it goes for her. She is a mountaineer though, so kind of used to longer days on like snow specifically, so she'll probably do pretty well here. And then Ruby Lindquist, also from the US, it was recently fourth at the Mexico Sky Race, coming back here for the Canadian race. Prior to the Mexico race, I would have said that this was a really long race for Ruby, but kind of equal time on feet. So I imagine she'll do pretty well here as well.
Yeah. And I forgot to point out too, in the description is Emma Cook Clark was second here last year and Karina was third here last year. So
Yeah.
they are familiar with the course, which I'm sure helps a bunch.
Yep. And this course will be kind of similar to Mexico and Calamoro in the sense that it's like 3 pretty big climbs and descents.
Nice. I actually was signed up for this race like a couple years in a row when I first started trail running. I'll have to do it one year. I think it's a really cool race. It just is such a bummer that it's like maybe it hopefully helps that it's on the same weekend, but it's like that Broken Arrow, Lavaredo, Minotaur Sky Race, Western States, Mont Blanc Marathon, like all together. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on this one. Speaking of the same weekend, the very next day, we have Sky Race du Mercantour. Again, they are different races on different sides of the world. This is in France. This is 18 miles with 7,000 feet of gain. Whenever I'm reading all of these like miles per gain, it's like for sure we are talking about the Skyrunner World Series versus another series. Holy smokes, it hurts my legs just thinking about it. Has a high point of 86,770 feet. Wait, 77 feet. Basically 8,700 feet is the high point. So also a high altitude race, not as high as Minotaur, but still high. Kind of like Sky Race de Matazines, it's a long climb and a long descent. So Madeira, long climb, long descent, some climbs at the end, and then Minotaur, like we just said, multiple climbs. This is just one up, one down, which that sounds great. But most of the climb is between 10 and 20% grade. So probably a lot of power hiking. It previously was won in 2 hours and 46 minutes by Damien Humbert and 3 hours and 30 minutes by Lire Abate. So nearly half the time that you're seeing in these other 2 races earlier in June. And it looks pretty exposed and dry for most of the races. Not a lot of tree coverage, very rocky, but I mean, based on these times alone, you could kind of tell that runners can get their legs going and running. And then once you're back in the trees, it looks pretty rooty, which is very common for like France, Switzerland area, but nothing too crazy in Skyrunner terms.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like much of the course is in the trees. So like it's super runnable from what it looks like in the YouTube videos that we've seen so far. And yeah, based on these times, much more like a Sky Race de Methazines, just minus the snow.
Yeah, exactly.
So on the men's side, we have Elaine Santamaria, who was recently 8th at Zagama. Loic Robert was recently 9th at Zagama, so they're going head to head again on this up-down course. And then Jean Marguerite, who won Skyrunner last year. And Rui Ueda is also, I think this is his first Skyrunner race of the season. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he mixes up with these guys.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting too because Loic Robert is signed up for Madeira, which is the week before, and that is a long race. So
Yes.
I suspect he's going to be a
Kinda
little
trashed.
tired. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then on the women's side, strong favorite, kind of like ahead of everyone else in our opinion, is Naira Irogan. She's just had a really strong year already, and she was second at Continentals del Norte, top 10 at Zagama. I believe she was like top 5 at the China Four Sisters race. If I remember, she was battling it up, trying to catch Grayson in the end.
Yeah.
So I think a race like this really suits her.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, like on the women's side, this race is not that competitive, it seems. Like I think it's going to be the Nayara show. But who knows? We could be wrong. Maybe there's a French woman that will surprise us in this race.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when in France, there's somebody
Yeah,
there.
There's gonna be somebody.
And before we cover this last Sky race, which is the very next weekend, here is another message from one of our partners.
Hey all, Danny here, professional trail runner and co-host of the Sub Hub podcast. Last year, after getting sick before a big race, I started looking into natural ways to boost my immune system. So I embarked on a little research journey, trying out a few different options. And you know what? I found myself reaching for one set of products again and again, and that was Beekeepers Naturals. And guess what? They are now a partner of the pod. Founded with a mission to reinvent the medicine cabinet, Beekeepers Naturals offers an array of immune-boosting products free from harmful chemicals and artificial ingredients. So if you're looking for a natural option to boost your immune system, consider trying Beekeepers Naturals products. And be sure to use the code SUBHUB20 for 20% off of all of your orders at beekeepersnaturals.com. Now back to the episode.
All right, to wrap up this super fun-filled June in the Merrill Skyrunner World Series, on June 29th, which is the same weekend as Western States, we have Kersacrone. Do you think I'm getting that right? Maybe
Kersacrone.
Kersacrone.
I don't know.
Sky Race. It's in Austria. This one looks super fun. Lots of rocks and grass. It's kind of like, it looks like that spongy grass commonly seen in like the Alps or the Pyrenees.
Little catch your ankles.
Yeah, exactly. Like you like squish down on it and suddenly there's like rocks all around your ankle and you're like, where did those rocks come from? And it's like the grass is somehow puffed on top of it. It's really weird. We don't have that here in the Eastern Sierra. So whenever I'm in Europe and that happens, I'm like, what is this? It's like a death trap. But anyways, this race has
Have fun out there.
have fun out there. No, it's super fun. 2 climbs and 2 descents, and it looks like, having looked into the different Stravas of runners that were here last year, that both of the climbs like look pretty technical and scrambly, because it looks like the runners are running pretty well, and then all of their splits just get drastically slower. It did look like there were some chains and stuff, so I imagine the up and over is very technical, and then again, as you get lower, it gets runnable. It does also look like the second descent, you can pick up a little bit of speed, and I'm sure that's the bits that they're showing in the videos that looks nice and charming as you're running through it. And this is also like east of Innsbruck, so I imagine for anyone who ran the World Champs, they have a general idea of what this might look like. This race is 16.5 miles, we'll say 15 to 17 miles, with 9,000 feet of gain. So very similar to Sky Race du Mercantour, but the time is like an hour slower per each winner. So like where Mercantour, the winner was roughly 2 hours and 45 minutes. On this course, the men's winner last year was 3:36. So kind of to give you an idea that it probably is much more technical. And then on the women's side, for comparison, Mercantour, the winning time was 3:30, and then the winning time here was 4:40. So pretty equal as far as that goes. As far as men's favorite, we have Alan Santamaria. So it looks like he's doing a back-to-back with Sky Race to
Yeah.
Mercantour and then this
And
one.
So is Loic supposedly. So it'll be interesting. Like, does he do all three? Does he just do Madeira, or does he do the
last
back-to-back
two.
for the, yeah.
Totally. Yeah. We also have Manuel Marias. You know, I would say pretty much a goat when it comes to sky running already at this point. Recently 5th at Sagama, podium at Sky Race de Mathesines and Acantilados del Norte. And then we have Dimas Pereira, recently 5th at Acantilados. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Manuel Dimas are coming. Manuel Marias and Dimas Pereira are coming in a bit more fresh for this one.
Yep. And if it's like a slower, more technical race, like that'll definitely be way more up Manuel's alley than some of the, like, Sky Race de Mathesines is almost too runnable for him.
Yeah, but then again, you have Loic Robert who just did Madeira and potentially Sky Race de Mercantour, and by this
Yeah.
point he'll be primed and ready.
Depending on what he's done, he's either going to be super ready or super tired.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And then on the women's side, we have Marcela Vasanova, who won the Minotaur race in Canada last year. Anastasia Rubtsova, who just won Sky Race de Mathesines, and Johanna Gelfren, who's a Swedish athlete who won Fjall Marathon 45K last year.
Nice. Yeah, this so we hope that kind of gives you a general idea of all these races. So basically there's a sky race happening every single weekend, starting this weekend for the rest of the month. So again, just like a quick rundown: Madeira, jungly, hot, long, on all fours, chains, etc. High point of 6,000 feet. Then you have Minotaur Sky Race, which is mostly at 9,000 feet for most of the race. High alpine, scree, dry, shoots, kind of long. And then you have Sky Race de Mercantour, which is up and down, a faster, somewhat sky race. And then we're closing it out with Kaiserkorn Sky Race, which I think is a mix of everything, like rocks, grass, scrambly, but not as long as Minotaur Sky Race. And then the other thing is Roberto and Antonio aren't listed on any of these, or Daniel, the top 3 guys that are leading the series right now. And even on the women's side, Lide and Julia are not racing. So if Lloyd
Lide's racing Madeira.
Oh yeah, Lide's
Yeah.
racing Madeira. Okay, so it's a big chance for Lide to move even further in the rankings.
Yeah.
But like on the men's side, you have Loic Robert and Alan Santamaria, who potentially can move up the rankings. But on the women's side, none of them are repeating any of these races.
Yeah. Lide's running one of them, Nayara's running one of them, so there's a potential that she probably moves up in the rankings a little bit, but yeah, we may not see too much movement on the women's side.
Yeah.
Bailey might move up.
Oh, that's true. Maybe Karina too.
Yeah, because Karina's not on this because she's only run one race so far. So yeah, we'll see. It'll be an interesting month.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so that's our Skyrunner catch-up episode. Stay tuned. Not on this episode, but our next episode will be covering the Broken Arrow Sky Race, which has the word Sky Race but isn't part of the World Series.
Yes. And Danny and I are both running it. We will both be there. So yeah, it's just the month of June there's too much going on. It's too exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this has been the SubHub podcast brought to you by Free Trail. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube, our Instagram, and also to our SubHub headlines, where we will be trying our hardest to highlight all of these results there as well.